Welcome to the Chosen Life podcast. I'm your host, the Chosen Lawyer. Today, I bring you a very special guest. My best friend in the world, a man that I've known my whole life. He is the mortgage guru, the mortgage broker in Ontario, Mr. Elan Weintraub of Mortgage Outlet. Elan, welcome to the Chosen Life.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you believe how many years we've known each other, how many scenarios in life we've been through together? It's amazing. When people ask me, how do you know Elan? I'm like, where do you want me to begin? We got grade school, high school, undergrad, working together in our respective industries. It's amazing, how time flies.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. It's well over 30 years, which is a very high percentage of our life.
Now, do you recall as far as when we would have first interacted?
Well, we went to the same, as you were saying, elementary school. One of the things that I think we'll talk about is how not great my memory is, but it was probably in around grade 6, I think, something like that.
So the way different schools work, Elan and I went together to a Jewish private school, and for grades 1 to 8. And once they put you in grade 1 and they put you in one of the 4 sects, you're following that sect with people generally throughout, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was 1B, you were 1D, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yes.
And then you don't kind of meet up until the 4 sects eventually become 3, become 2, and then we ended up interacting in grade 6, I believe. So It's funny how time flies. One thing I'm going to mention before we get started into as far as today's topic, for the people watching, very, very important, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I know you're enjoying the content, you're loving the episodes, and you're saying, I don't want to miss one single episode of The Chosen Life. And we also have our sister show, David and David on Real Estate. It's very easy as you're watching this, you're eating some popcorn, just hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and please comment. We love the interaction. This is a very interactive show. Elan loves to interact with his fans on social media, so please comment. Let us know how you love the show, and you never know when your question will get answered. So, reflecting back on memory lane for today's episode, today we're getting a very special topic for you, Elan, because it's not going to be 3-4 topics. I kind of blew you away on this one. You're like, how are we going to do this? Well, we are going to do it. It's a very popular topic and things that people, strive towards, don't always do themselves. But they say, I would love to meet my favorite celebrity. I'd love to meet my favorite athlete. And of course, how do I get their autograph, And you and I have been mixed up in the autograph world for many years, right?
Yes,
just from a very, very young age. And, how many stories, we have that we're going to share today. And people saying, when they hear these stories, we're at a party, we're at a dinner, and they're saying, how did you meet these people? How did you go about it? Today is the episode to learn how to meet these people. Now, for us, it was mostly athletes, but it can go for celebrities as well, movie stars, all walks of life. You think about it, if they're famous, we're going to find them.
Absolutely.
When did you first know that you wanted to get autographs? Like, what did you first have that ambition?
It's funny. And one of the things I'm looking forward to is me sharing my memory and then you correcting me of what really happened. But I think I'm actually extremely looking forward to that. So this is a really funny story. But so John and I think was in grade 8. The Jays were huge at the time. Like everyone, they were doing all their playoff runs, just like the Bash brothers, Canseco, McGuire, like all these guys. It was just an exciting time with baseball. And there was another mutual friend that Jonathan and I had. And I guess either the two of them, or maybe I think it was actually him, he discovered how to get autographs. And let me be clear, I didn't really care that much about autographs. I didn't care that much about sports, but I saw that they were going down, getting autographs and actually selling them and making money. And I thought that was a cool way to make money rather than, work at McDonald's or grind it out and all that stuff. Just go get some autographs and sell them. So the really funny story, and I do remember this very, very well, is I had to negotiate with that person how much I had to pay him to tell me about the place. And it was called The Place. And there was a lot of back and forth about I'm going to follow you after school and I'm going to see where you're going and I'm not going to pay you. And they didn't want, or I don't remember, he didn't want me to come or they didn't want me to come because then instead of 2 people asking for autographs, it was 3 people. But long story short, after many kind of days and weeks of negotiating, in my memory, I paid $20 and he told me about The Place. And that is how my autograph career started.
And that's how you and I began to
Yes,
interact. We
yes.
did not, we knew of each other, but we
Yes.
weren't like close friends. We didn't like hang out in the same groups or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you now the real story of how it came to be.
you.
And as far as that negotiation goes, I was at least a 50-50 partnership in that. I was not aware of that negotiation at all. And I was not told that there was a negotiation. He pocketed all that money, and you just showed up one day, and I said, "Why is he here exactly?" And he told me, "Oh, don't worry, he's a friend of mine, blah blah." And then I found out from you that you paid him, and by then he'd already pocketed the money. It was too late.
You
So,
pocketed the money, and the secret is out. Once you open Pandora's box, you can't
That's
close it.
so the way it all began was this. So I was the sports fan. I was really big into baseball. That was my thing. So for the clarification for all the listeners, we're based in Toronto, Canada. So, of course, it was the Blue Jays, and that was the big thing. When my father passed away, I was in grade 5. I started collecting baseball cards, reading the baseball encyclopedia, and that's where I threw myself into, because that's just, as a young kid, you got to put yourself into something. And slowly, I started getting the idea of wanting to get autographs and meeting players. So I was thinking, how am I going to do this? And of course, I'm a young kid, don't know any better. And back then, there's no internet, there's no social media, there's nothing,
huge.
right? So I took out a book from the library. And the way they said it was, they had all the addresses for all the arenas and all the stadiums of Major League Baseball and other sports teams, so sports leagues. So I thought to myself, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out a letter and ask for an autograph, put the baseball card inside. And since we're based in Canada, I need somebody who's in the States to send me U.S. stamps, because I need to put a self-addressed stamped envelope inside. Plus, I have to have an envelope, be able to fit the second envelope inside.
This story is so dated, by the way, but go on.
That's
I know. This is what it was.
You think it's dated, right? So with Steve Carsey in the Chosen Journey, our new documentary series, we talked about this in the first or second episode, and he still gets envelopes to his house to this day.
That's
because
crazy.
now we got the internet. So guess what? People
Everyone
find
knows,
out his home address, right? And he does sign cards and memorabilia through signing off through the mail, and he ships it back because they put the self-addressed stamped envelope. So that's where it all began for me. And then I said to our friend, our mutual acquaintance, I guess, it was a good friend of mine at the time, and I said, okay, let's go down. I'm gonna buy some tickets, and let's share some tickets, and let's go down to the stadium. Maybe we're gonna be able to get some autographs that way. I'm a complete rookie. I have no idea. I'm like, what, 12? I'm like 13 years old probably at this
Maybe
point.
12.
13 years old, if that.
Yeah, maybe 11 even.
And even still, you could still ride the subway. You could still go out in all hours of the night. It was a different time back then, right?
Yeah.
And so we're hanging out outside the clubhouse, like on the level 100 field, and not getting any autographs, having no success. And as we're there, we'll go to the game, sit down, and he starts talking to one of the ushers. And the usher says, so you want autographs, eh? He goes, absolutely.
I just want to say I've never heard this story, so this is good. This is good. I might have, but memory. But go on, yeah.
So you got level 100, level 200, level 300, level 500. Lo and behold, there's a level called 000. When you're walking into the stadium and you see this big fenced off area, if you look closely, it says 000. That's where all the vendors are. That's where all the players are outside the clubhouse. That's where you're not going to go now, because for security and privacy and everything else, it's not going to happen. But back then, it was a thing if you could find your way down there. But back then, we had a McDonald's, as you bring it up, and we had a sports store as far as selling T-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff called the Major Attraction. If you go through the store and you kind of sneak out the back door, you can find your way through the fence in the tunnel, and you're going to end up at 000, and that's what we did. And that's how we started getting the autographs. That's where it all began. And at 000, when we were there, meeting another fan at 000, like they started, these were like the guys were coming with their binders, right? So they had their binders with the baseball cards. They had their little stickies and clips.
These were like we used to call them autograph geeks, but yeah.
Yes. I don't know if you can call that anymore.
I mean, they were pretty serious.
Autograph socially deficient people.
Well, they were professionals.
They were professional autograph
they
seekers.
Had every player, every
Autograph
organized in order. Yeah.
But instead of pulling out one card sign, they would open up their album. They would have 5 cards on there, get everything signed, blow it up, and then go to the next page, right? So they told us from there, where we go? We go to the hotel. And that's where it all that's where it all started. We were talking about the famous Sheraton Hotel in Toronto, and that's where it began. So learning off, wanting to get autographs, starting off from mailings, which people can still do that, absolutely. You can mail it to the stadium, the arena. If you look it up, you may be able to find the home address. You can take your chances. But in that also, I've heard stories where you got the clubhouse guy and he opens up somebody's mail for him and he's doing all the ghost signing.
Right.
That's the thing. Also, there's a folklore of a thing called the auto pen, where there's this pen that has your signature in its memory and it's auto generating the pen. So that's a hand signature, but is it really? So we won't get into the auto pen aspect of it. But I still see that people are hanging outside batting practice. In hockey, people hanging outside the arenas. Like, that was the thing. We did that. And depending on the arena, depending on the age of the arena in the city, sometimes the players still are going to park outside and have to walk into the arena. There's no underground. So depending on what city you're situated in, and depending on how they set up the players coming in and out of the arenas, they might have a practice facility. There's so many ways to find them, right? But for you and I, it started off from 000, and it worked our way over to the hotel. And that's where we had our little small group of friends. And every week or 2 weeks, we'd be jumping on the subway, going to Harvey's, McDonald's, grabbing our food, and waiting outside the hotel day and night for the autographs.
Yeah, we were basically stalkers.
Yeah.
And we knew when they were practicing. We knew which hotel. And like the big thing was calling the hotel. And, you know, you're not going to call and say, does Wayne Gretzky, you know, is Wayne Gretzky staying there? Because obviously they're going to say no. But you're going to ask for some random kind of like third line left winger. And they'll be like, sure, would you like me to connect you? And then you're like, bingo. And then you know where to go.
Like, excuse me, at the time, Gerard Gallant, he's now a head coach in the NHL, but back then he was a player. I'm looking for Mr. Gallant, please. First name Gerard. Sorry, sir, we only have a Romeo. Okay. Then you got stuck. But you were looking for like those Gino Cavallinis, and you're looking for all the guys that probably are going under the real names, and that's how you figure out where they're going to stay. Then you're showing up, and it's so funny because now if we were going to get autographs, we would come in a suit or business casual. We'd have our attaché case. It'd probably be up on our laptop. Gradually keeping it our eye when somebody shows up and find our way and kind of introduce ourselves. Back then, we're wearing like our sweatshirts, like Roots 88.
We were like 13 years old.
Wearing our sweatpants. Like, we stuck out like a sore thumb. We're hanging out with our binders, you know. And from the hotel's perspective, you think about it, this doesn't look good, right? It's amazing how long we got away with that until they actually started banning us, you know. First, they moved us to outside the hotel. Then they moved us to the sidewalk. It was a steady progression, right? But for the amount of time we got to do it, it's amazing. You know, and I think back on those years, those were the best times ever. Hanging out with your buddies, getting the autographs,
well, it was
the
a
stories.
rush also, right? Seeing the athlete getting the autograph. And I remember some people were employing tactics like there were 8 kids together, and then you'd like kind of dress a little nicer and just hide out in the coffee shop and like not be with the crowd and kind of act as if you're staying at the hotel and try to get the autographs that way. But if like 8 people were in the coffee shop, for sure you'd get booted.
Well, we even brought up a level, right? Because once, you know, the Islanders were in town, and that was a big team at the time. So somebody got their brother to rent us a hotel room. We all chipped in.
I
remember.
Yeah, but was I part of that?
I
don't know.
I can't confirm or deny that part of it.
I was part of that, but I remember the story. Yeah.
Yes, it's funny now as a lawyer saying at the time, you know, how we were doing this. But look, I was 13 years old, right? So a Young Offenders Act. So there's only so much they could have done. We never actually went to jail for this. We did get picked up by security a couple of times, which we'll talk about. But the players at the time, you know, it was funny. It was a different time, especially the different sports, right? So like,
huge.
We're talking about athletes right now, and you know, the centric of it. We did meet other celebrities, but when you focus on this, on the athletes part of it, like at the time, the Raptors weren't a thing, right? So they were doing the exhibition games because they were planning to bring basketball to Toronto. This is how much we're dating ourselves right now.
Yeah.
And they were playing out of the Rogers Center, which was a sky dome that they had cut off. And I remember that the basketball players were coming. It was the Jazz were there for sure.
I remember the Jazz amazingly well. Yes. Yeah.
And the reason I remember the Jazz, first of all, was Bobby Eaton comes out. And it's, you know, he's like this 7 foot... Mark Eaton comes out. And he's like 7'2". It's got to be Elan like 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he has a drink in his hand. And he's about to sign autographs. And he goes, "Hey, kid, can you hold my drink for me?" I'm like, okay, I guess I can.
What, like a beer?
No, like he had like a cocktail. And he goes, probably not a good idea for you to be holding that. But it was that early in the morning for him. But the basketball players were so nice. I remember compared to baseball players, they really stopped for you. They really engaged with you.
Yeah.
Karl Malone. I'll never forget Karl Malone.
I have the same memories.
Karl Malone
nicest guy ever.
Sat in the freaking couch of the Skydome Hotel at the time, which now it's the Sheraton or Renaissance, whatever they call it. But it's the hotel built into the stadium. Karl Malone was there for at least an hour, hour and a half. You could have hung out with Carl all day. He took a bazillion pictures. He was signing any autograph you could bring him. The man, he was
Can we pause on that word,
yes.
pictures?
Yes.
We were taking pictures with a camera. You don't know if it developed, if it was blurry. Pictures. Anyway, go on.
No, listen, Elan. Some of us were sophisticated. We had Polaroid cameras.
Okay.
And, we could see it right away. And you can get him the autograph at the bottom Polaroid camera.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's all true. At the time, we did not have cell phones, so we did not have these, virtual cameras, so to speak. And we actually had to take pictures with film, get it developed. It was the funniest thing. But again, Karl Malone was one of the biggest stars ever, and the man was just so freaking engaging, And I found that really cool. And I found that hockey players in NHL, at the time at least, were very much so over in progression of the years. But it's funny, you see a player when they're a rookie and they're coming up, and what they were like when you first met them versus how they were over time. Jaromir Jagr, or Jaromir Jagr as you called him.
Yes, Jaromir Jagr.
Jaromir Jagr.
Jagr, I think I said, but
not that different than Malone. He hung out for at least half an hour.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And year 2, year 3, it was all over.
Was it?
Yes.
That I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember him being maybe
not
4 or 5.
It was like starting to slip away. I remember that one of the veteran players came and tapped him on the shoulder and said to him, buddy, it's not how we do this.
So I need to pause though, because you brought up a few things that we need to address before I forgot. So do you remember this? One of the big things, you said the key word was Polaroids.
Yes.
One of the big things was if you had a really amazing player signing something like a Gretzky or a Lemieux or whatever it was, you would take a Polaroid of them signing it to be like, screw certificates of authenticity. Here is him physically signing the actual ball, and you could see the signature. So and then you'd also get them to sign the Polaroid of them proving. It was just next level. So that's very important.
No, we figured out these type of aspects, but also eventually you built up a reputation. So at the time, sports card stores were exploding. This is before the crash and before the reinvention of sports cards. But this is what they called the junk era in the 90s, when it was the junk boxes and they were producing millions and billions of cards.
Can I sell you some 1990 Score baseball, John?
I think I've already sold yours, dude. So they're already gone.
I have boxes.
But I remember, for example, as we were getting the autographs, we'd get smarter about them. So, for example, a lot of the Blue Jay players at the time were very, very engaging. But you had to figure out where to get them. It was very hard to get them right inside the stadium or when, batting practice is going on, because they're busy, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody figured out where the cars come out of the tunnel. So we would line up outside the tunnel. We'd have, cases of baseballs. And, Kelly Gruber, Dwayne Ward,
Steve,
John
all those
Olerud.
guys.
John Olerud would stop all day long and sign for you. And you'd go get his autograph, go back in line, take off your hat, get him to sign again, take off your sweatshirt, then put on your hoodie, and you'd get...
But, okay, here's a bit of trivia, and I know that you know the answer, but this is very time period important.
Yes.
What car did they all drive?
Oh, this is easy, man. They were all driving white Honda Accords.
Okay. Think of the gravity of that, okay? Imagine the 2022 Toronto Raptors. They're all leaving the Scotiabank Arena, and they're all coming out with white Honda Accords. And let's be clear, every single Blue Jay had a white Honda Accord. And did they have a Blue Jays logo on the driver's side door and the passenger door? I think they might have.
It might have something identifying it, but
the point is, think about athletes today and think about back then, and literally every athlete was driving a white Honda Accord. That's exactly the right answer.
Did they have keyless remote in those?
No, I don't think so.
So how did they know which car was theirs?
License
Think about it. There's 25
license plates.
But who's going to memorize their license plate? You have white.
License
25
plates.
White Honda Accords all lined up.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about the era of the athlete when they're all coming in McLarens and Bugattis and Mercedes and G-Wagons.
Or they're getting dropped off.
Not there's anything wrong with the Honda Accord, but first of all,
no,
them
not
driving,
if you're making $25 million a year.
Right. And also everybody driving the exact same car. But that's the way it was. You just see the white Honda Accord coming.
White Honda.
No tinted windows.
Yeah.
And the guy would stop every time. So there's about 5 or 6 of them, and superstar to mid superstar, and they would sit and sign after every single game, and that was pretty freaking cool. And even the Toronto Maple Leafs at the time, when they used to play out of the Gardens before they went over to the ACC, which is now Scotiabank, which is now whatever. The name changes pretty much every day, right? So back then,
I think Scotia secured a very long deal there, but yes.
Good luck, Scotia. Yeah. So Leafs come out. and they have their cars all lined up outside. There's no underground parking, and they have no choice but to walk to their cars. It's just a question of which exit they're coming out of.
Oh, now I remember this.
Yeah, so like there was 4 or 5 exits out of the gardens.
Oh my God, this is a memory.
So you try to figure out which one is their cars, and you know that a few of them line up. Some of them took the subway, and you had to like, it would be
we
very
used to
strategic.
run. We used to go from was it Carlton? What's the street?
Church and Carlton, yeah.
Church.
Yeah.
We used to run from the back door to the side door to the front, and it was like, let's go.
And there's no cell phones. There's no texting each
nothing.
other.
Zilch.
So just yelling.
Yes.
Yes. And the Leafs were great at the time. Most of them would stop and sign. But there was this thing all of a sudden where they started. And I remember going for autographs in the afternoon, midday games. And they said, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to sign for you, kid. I'm like, why not? Because you should be in school. And we should not be signing autographs encouraging you to not be in school.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, and I said, I finished school early. I was done in 3.5 years, so I'm actually off right now before university, so there's no problem for you to sign for me, sir. And most would sign, but some
It's
didn't
like,
believe me.
you should be a lawyer. I think that was like an early indication of your mindset. So there you go. So autographs might have shaped your career path.
There was a day I got a phone call from the school, the high school, and they said to me, Mr. Cohen, why were you not in school yesterday? I said, I was on a field trip. And they said, what field trip was this? I said, in my law course, I went to go to the police station and interview police officers for my project. I did go to the practice first and got autographs, but then I went afterwards.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell them about the autograph part.
It's irrelevant.
They said, did you get authorization for this? Was I supposed to? My apologies. I didn't understand that. I thought that was okay. So anyways, different times back then, right?
But let's go back to what you said earlier, because I also have this vivid memory that there was tiers of niceness, and hockey players were always the nicest.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know if the NBA players, which that was like a big deal. It was only once, like it was a big deal. They were nice because they were like ambassadors of like the NBA to Canada, or like, I don't know if I would make the generalization, or they had nothing to do and they're like in Toronto, they don't know where to go. And then baseball players, most of them were like jerks, like really big jerks, in my opinion. Yeah.
I would say that's true, and I would say for a couple levels. Number one, the baseball season is way longer than the basketball season and the hockey season, right?
Yeah.
It's double. It's 162 games versus 81 games.
Yeah.
That's number one. They have a lot more travel involved. And
I mean, so what?
at some point, you just get bothered so many. Okay, like I'll give you the Wayne Gretzky example.
Yeah.
You know, I remember with Gretzky, with not always signing autographs.
Yeah.
And I remember a little kid coming up to him and getting an autograph. And Mr. Gretzky, can you write it out to my name? And Gretzky looked at him and said, personalize it yourself. And that's not the image you have of Wayne Gretzky.
No, of course not.
And someone said to me, like, what a jerk. Like, Wayne Gretzky, seriously? I thought he was like the nicest guy. And I said, think about this. As we've been at this hotel right now, the man goes to eat dinner. Look how many times he got bothered as he's approaching the restaurant. He gets approached for pictures and for autographs while he's in the restaurant eating. As he leaves, the man cannot stop for 1 second without getting a picture or an autograph request. At some point, when you're with your family, it does get annoying and you'd like some privacy, you know? And as the level of the autograph seeker rose, I would say like you said, the level of stalker, that's almost what it became.
Right.
Like me and Carlton Fisk.
Yeah.
Like that will live on in infamy, you know?
Tell me the story again and I'll remember it, but I don't remember it right now.
So I was a big Carlton Fisk fan at the time, you know, and I see Carlton Fisk at the Hilton Hotel and I'm like, oh my God, it's Carlton Fisk. This is so cool, you know, game-winning home run, this guy, Red Sox. So I'm like, I got to meet Carlton Fisk. So he's going into the bar. I said, Mr. Fisk, and I'm a young kid, you know, Mr. Fisk, please, can I get an autograph? He goes, no. And he goes inside the bar and it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No judgments. So Carlton Fisk is at the bar. Comes out about 45 minutes later. Mr. Fisk, it's such an honor to meet you. Can I please have an autograph? No. He darts out of the hotel, starts walking down the street. I start following him. He's pretty fast, actually. You know, they called him Pudge, but he was
he's still a pro athlete. So.
Well, he couldn't dodge me. And I found him in the park reading a book. I come up to him. I go, listen, Mr. Fisk, I don't want to bother you.
You know, all I'm hearing is how you became a lawyer. Like, I know we're talking about autographs, but this is incredible. Go on, yeah.
So he's reading, he's reading a book in the park. I said, Mr. Fisk, listen, I don't want to bother you. I'm such a big fan. It'd mean the world to me if I can get an autograph. No, I'm not signing an autograph. And he darts from the park and he goes into this shopping mall. And I'm following him to the shopping mall. I said,
and you're like 13 at the time.
I'm
right?
barely 13.
Yeah.
And I have
Maybe 12.
And I have an 8x10 picture, which cost me like $10, which was a big deal back then.
That's a separate story.
That was a big deal.
What's the name of that store?
It was in Oakville. It was in Oakville.
It was near Oakville, yeah.
Right. So I got the 8x10 ready to go with the Sharpie. I said, please, I just want autograph and I'll leave you alone. Like, that's all I'm asking for. I'm a kid. Like, please, can I get an autograph? He starts going down the escalator, and I'll never forget. He looks at me and he goes, listen, kid, my autograph, my privilege.
Oh, I remember the story.
And I look at him. I said, you know what? This is what I think of you, and this is what I think of your autograph. And I rip the picture and I throw it into the garbage. He looks up at me. He starts darting up the escalator, and I bolt out of this. But it doesn't end
I would
there.
have loved to see if... Yeah.
But it doesn't end there.
Okay.
Unfortunately for Mr. Fisk, he did not start that game. He was the bullpen catcher that day, and I had the bullpen seats.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yes. So he was sitting there with the pitchers in the bullpen the whole game. And the whole game, all I did was, Carlton. And he was glaring at me.
And he knew who you were.
Oh, 1,000%.
Oh.
And of course, after the game, my friend said, let's go get autographs at the hotel. I said, no chance I'm going. I don't want to see Fisk. We went, but Fisk did not come out. But I was like looking over my shoulder every 2 seconds. But see, that's a story for life. I didn't get the autograph. It's almost better.
The story is, yeah.
And the thing is, if I did meet him in real life, it would be amazing. Like, for example, Willie Wilson. You remember Willie Wilson? Willie Wilson was a superstar speedster for the 70s with the Royals, okay? Outfielder. Great player. I meet him in the twilight of his years, right? So I meet him at the hotel. I said, wow, you're Willie Wilson. Nice to meet you. And he kind of like gives me this nod. Can I have an autograph, please? He looks at me and goes, son, I haven't signed an autograph since the 1970s, and I ain't starting today. I said, fair enough. I meet Willie Wilson later on Twitter. Willie Wilson reappears years later. So I met him when I was doing the MLB Reports thing. So probably, let's say, about 10 years ago. And he was like talking it up with the fans. And I told him the story on the chat so everybody could see what he did. I said, I was a little kid, and that's what you had to say to me.
And he's like, damn straight.
He goes, DM me. I'll be happy to arrange for an autograph with you.
That's nice.
I wrote back to him. I said,
no thanks.
Not interested, but thanks anyways. But nice to talk to you. So,
were there any comments about that comment?
Oh, me shutting down Willie Will. Oh, Twitter?
Yeah.
Dude, it was the pre-Reddit. Yes, they were like all over that.
I love it.
But see, again, that's all about the stories, all about the engagements. You know, but again, for the people listening in, they're saying, okay, so that's how you're getting like, you know, sports athletes. What about celebrities? What about yourself? Were you able to be fortunate to figure out as far as movie premieres or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I have a really nice memory. Growing up, Three's Company was like the show, John Ritter. And then I wasn't into it as much, but Henry Winkler from Happy Days. And they were both in a New York Broadway show. I think it might have been a Neil Simon play. And my wife Sharon and I went to see it. And then afterwards, we hung out after. And they came out like right into Broadway, and we got them to sign the program, which was amazing. And John Ritter passed, you know, a couple of years after that, and you know, we're big John Ritter fans. My wife is a big John Ritter fan, so it was really nice. And again, like you can go to the stalking level and you know Google where does Drake live and all this stuff, or you could just kind of just try for the normal stuff. Like you know they're going to come out of the theater, you know they're going to. I feel like actually. One of the things that might have changed the way that baseball autographs work now is, especially after the strike and the lockout and like baseball was suffering, I feel like there was either explicit or implicit guidance from MLBPA or MLB to be like, go interact with the fans, go sign more. And I do feel that improved. I don't know if that's continued recently, but I think at the time it changed a little bit.
I think it was probably at the time, you know. One of my biggest goals in life was to be at a stadium when there was no hitter or a perfect game. That was always on my bucket list.
It's a pretty big ask.
So Detroit, my favorite team, one of my favorite teams, I would say. I love the Yankees too, but I'm a big ball fan in general. So the Tigers were in town with the Blue Jays, and my son Jeremiah at the time was probably, I don't know, like maybe 10, 9, whatever it was. And so it was. We had tickets for the Sunday afternoon game, and then there was the Saturday game. So for the Saturday game, I said to him, it's like a 4 p.m. game around 2 o'clock. Why don't we get tickets? Let's go down. Verlander's pitching. That'd be a lot of fun. We always have a good time. He's like, Daddy, can we go go-karting? I'm like, we can go another time. I really want to go go-karting. And I'm like, okay, well, wow. Okay. I'm like, go-karting for you is, and he wants to go with me. I'm like, all right. I know
where this is going.
We'll go. You know what? I might go to tomorrow's game. I have tickets, but I might be busy. So anyways, as we're driving down there, I give the tickets away for the Sunday game because turns out schedule-wise I can't go. And I said, okay, you know what, son? It's all good. And we had the best time go-karting. We go down to the shopping mall. They have a track out there outside the shopping mall all the time, and we had the best time going go-karting. So I go into the car with him afterwards. I put on the station. I'm like, wonder how things are going in the Blue Jay game. They're in the 8th inning, and Verlander has a no-hitter. I think he pitched a perfect game, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm listening to this, and I'm shuddering, right? And he's like, Daddy, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. And Verlander gets the no-hitter, maybe the perfect game from what I recall now. And I'm like, I had the tickets, but you know what? Spending the time with my 100%. Son and going to go-karting, that was the ultimate. You know what? I'm good to go.
And now you have the fun memory of like going go-karting with your son when there was a no-hitter being thrown. So
absolutely.
I love it.
Then I get a phone call Sunday evening from the people that I gave my tickets away to this Sunday. They're like, that was so nice of you to give those seats. I'm like, did you enjoy them? Was it good? Well, it was really convenient that you put it outside the Detroit Tigers dugout because Verlander pitched such a great game. All the players hung out outside your seats and were autographing for like an hour straight right in front of me. And I'm like mortified. I'm like, no.
Sweet.
That's just the way it goes, like it's all about timing and everything else. But you have to know, like one of my favorite players had never autographed. He signed for me when I found him that one game because he had 2 home runs that game. So
Who was that?
Dave Parker.
Oh, Dave Parker. Yeah.
I was stalking Parker for
I remember.
Years.
He had a nice autograph, by the way.
Very nice autograph once you actually get the guy. But the man had to have 2 home runs to actually get the autograph. So when you know that a player actually has a really great game, chances are if you meet them, they'll probably be good about it.
Hopefully.
Yes, like the George Brett ball. That was another one. But, I missed out on a landmark home run. My brother went to the bathroom. George Brett was one hit away from the cycle. It was a home run. He gets the home run. It bounced off my brother's seat. I dive for the ball. Somebody steps on my hand, takes the ball. And George Brett came back to the hotel that night, I heard, partying and had a good time.
I'm sure.
He was a little too lively to sign autographs. But again, it's like when you have that kind of game, it's really cool to meet them, even just the experience. And I just left the hotel 5 minutes before Brett shows up. It's all about timing.
Timing is huge.
In autographs, it's everything.
Well, I have a funny story. And again, I was 12 or 13 and someone had asked me to babysit their kids. And it was going to be a very easy job. Like the kid goes to bed at like 7:30. And I remember, again, they had like a real pinball game and a real video game. Yeah. And I was like, basically, I'm going to get paid to go like play video games. Like this is like the best scenario possible.
Right.
The problem is that we were at 95% sure it was the Sheraton for the Boston Red Sox. And most of the players had come out and the buzz was that Clemens was coming out. And it's like another 5 minutes, another 5 minutes, another 5 minutes. And again, especially being a young kid and not realizing, they needed to babysit, they needed to be somewhere at a certain time. And I'm like, I'll be 10 minutes late. It's not a big deal. Anyway, long story short, I stayed. I didn't get Clemens. I don't know where. I didn't even see him. And they never asked me to babysit ever again. So that was, and I think, I'm not sure, but maybe my mom went to cover for me at the time. So
was that the time security picked you up?
I don't think no, because that was the Sheraton. And I think I actually was picked up by the Hilton security. So I think Jonathan mentioned this earlier, but obviously the hotels early on, you just kind of sit quietly and they would leave you alone. And then it started to be like, instead of 2 people, 4 people, 6, 8, 10, 12. And they're like, no way. And they would like push you into a stairwell and they'd like let you kind of wait on the side. And then it kept growing and they're like, forget it, like stay on the sidewalk. So a lot of us would, walk in and kind of pretend like we're guests of the hotel, this, that, and the other. And one time I think I got a warning and then I went back in again. And then they're like, that's it. You're we're going to charge you with trespassing or whatever it was. They took me to the security office, and I'm like, I don't have ID. No one is home, like whatever. And they just let me go. I think they might have taken my picture, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
I think so. I was obviously more scared to go to the Hill. I'm pretty sure it was.
No, I think it was a Sheraton, buddy. Because I could tell you, I
I
went for the Boston Red Sox. Roger Clemens comes out in the first 10, 15 minutes I'm there.
Yeah.
I get the Clemens autograph. I get picked up right away. They pull me downstairs into security, and I never went back to the Sheraton after that. Wow. And it's funny, at the time when you're a young kid, like you don't know, like it's like,
well,
we
knew. We knew.
But it's like, I'm saying, like it's more overwhelming. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. And you certainly don't want your parents to know or anything like that, because they're not very cool about that.
I think they left a message for my mom on the answering machine, not voicemail, because there was no voicemail. And then I went home and I erased it before she got home. So
love it.
I don't know.
So it's interesting, it's being now where we're at in life, we're professionals, and, we have university degrees, and, we're working with clients, and, we're no longer hanging out outside hotels as kids, with a hamburger and a Sharpie pen, But it's kind of funny because I'm thinking now, like interviewing Buff Bagwell, the wrestler, for our podcast, right? Buff and I met through the new age of technology, which is what I would have done if I wanted to meet him as a kid, Yeah. So we started off that he did I bought myself a cameo for my own birthday. And he's like, brother, you got yourself your own cameo. I love that.
That's pretty sweet.
That's amazing. You give yourself a shout out. Anyways, so he already kind of knew my name. He knew the Chosen Lawyer, and he like went into the whole thing about it. And then one night I'm notified on Facebook, Facebook Live. Buff's going on. I'm like, all right, I got nothing to do. Let's go on Facebook Live. And there's like 5 people in the room. I'm like, hey, Buff, remember me? Chosen Lawyer. He goes, Chosen Lawyer, Chosen One. I remember him. Anyway,
timing is so important in situations. Yeah.
I just caught the perfect moment. And, anyway, so we bonded. And next thing you know, Buff Bagwell's on the Chosen Life podcast.
And it's blowing up, right? I mean, there's...
Well, our top clip has just broken 130K views as of taping right now, and it keeps climbing. And, it's amazing, where it all comes to be. But people, think I'm related to Buff or what be it. I met him as a fan. I was a Buff Bagwell fan growing up. I thought Buff was the stuff, and reaching out to him, and that's where people can know that there are means. Like, these day and age, you're not going to be hanging out outside the stadium always. If you know that there's a movie premiere or something, you could try it, but you're competing against so many people. But first and foremost, you pay the money, you do a cameo or something, or you go on their website. They have, some people have it on their own site, so you can do that. You can do a phone call with them, whatever. Every celebrity is finding a way to make money, pretty much. And if you're ready to give the money, they'll interact with you, no problem. And then from there, there's actual signings. They appear at conventions. They do virtual signings where you can watch them autographing your actual items, so you can tape that, it, and they can personalize it for you. So you may not see them physically, especially, now with social distancing and things opening up, it may go back to somewhat the way it was. But especially during the COVID times, like, you were not going to be meeting people, in person. Like, it was like a big no-no. And I was thinking, like, what's going to happen to autographs? But now people are back to signing autographs, taking pictures.
What we didn't talk about was card shows, like hockey card shows, baseball card shows. Like, back in our day, they were huge. And
they still are? Yeah.
No. But back then, wasn't there a show like every week or every month?
That's true.
Like, and
pretty much every week.
They would have, 1 or 2 Hall of Famers and 1 or 2, All-Stars, or like almost All-Stars every week. So we used to go, and we always used to buy a ticket for 1 autograph, and then we'd like put 4 things in front of them. And remember, the people would always get like really upset at us, and we're like,
that's the way it is. The way it is. What about, like, you got store openings? Like, if you follow, if you keep an eye, like, if you have a particular person you want to meet, or you keep an eye on a particular store, there's some stores that, like, there's a wrestling store I know in New Jersey. They're very, very big with that. The Wrestler Collector store, they bring people on every week. Yeah. If a new store opens up, if it's a music store and you want a musician, like, I met Lenny Kravitz that way. At the time, the biggest record store, CD store, whatever you want to call it, back in Toronto at the time, they brought Lenny Kravitz. It was during high school, and yes, I skipped school, and I'm sorry.
I didn't go to that.
I did. I waited all day to meet Lenny Kravitz in the rain, by the way. And you know what? He was the nicest guy ever. He literally talked to me for 10 minutes.
Really?
They kept trying to push him along, and we were trying because Blind Melon was opening for them, and I was a huge Blind Melon fan, and I'm like, this is so cool. I can't believe you're here with Blind Melon. I would have given everything, but I couldn't afford a ticket. And he's like, I seriously just gave my last ticket. Otherwise, I would have given it to you. And I said to him, I don't know if you're actually like mean that or not, but it seems like you are. So that's just cool of you to say that. Yeah. And he felt so bad about the ticket. He just kept engaging, asked me where I went to school. Like it was, and that's the reputation he has, you know?
So here's a trivia. Do you know what movie his daughter's in?
No.
Either you know, she's in Batman, the new Batman movie.
Oh, yes.
Batman.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
So if
she's Catwoman.
So mention to her that your friend met her dad like 20 years ago.
Look at that. Look how a celebrity and 5 minutes of their time 30 years later has such a profound impact. Like think about that. That's crazy.
Like people have written to me from the Buff Bagwell episode and said, I met Buff at a card convention 5 years ago. I had a drinking issue. I had a life issue. You know, meeting Buff inspired me to do better things. Like it was so cool, like how, and it's funny because, you know, celebrities are the same as us. They just maybe make more money, but they put on their pants the same way. They eat the same way.
100%.
But the effect that somebody could have, good or bad, on your life, it's amazing. Like when you're a little kid and you idolize somebody and they dash you like that, it's not the best feeling. Like I remember like meeting Reggie Jackson. You know, I was definitely 11 at the time, and I thought that was the biggest thing ever, meeting Reggie Jackson.
Was he a player at the time?
He was a coach for the California Angels at the time.
Okay.
Which became the Anaheim Angels and then the Anaheim Angels of LA, whatever. Their name kept changing too, but they were the California Angels. And I see Reggie Jackson outside. Nobody's around. I'm like, ha. Mr. Jackson, it's a pleasure to meet you. Can I please have an autograph? He goes, nah, it's too hot to sign. I'm like, it's not that hot actually. And then he just goes into the taxi. But I remember that line forever.
But hang on, you know what we didn't talk about it.
What's
and again, my how my memory works. What was the mecca of autographs ever? What was the biggest thing ever in autographs in Toronto?
Like as far as the store wise?
I'm gonna like getting autographs. What was the biggest thing ever?
Like
I'll give you a hint. 1991.
Oh, as far as like the All-Star game?
All-Star game weekend.
That's true. And I actually went to the Pittsburgh one years later.
Okay, and?
It is unbelievable. Like the Fan Fest.
Yeah.
And I got tickets to the after party.
What after party?
Like after the home run derby and all that. But before, because the game is like when it's played, but before that they have the whole weekend going.
Yeah.
And as kids, we wouldn't have known this
No.
back in the day. But it's a whole weekend. Like they made the Futures game where the prospects are playing. Then they have the home run derby. Then they have the game the next day. But there's an after party, and if you're lucky enough to get those tickets, those players are everywhere. And it was like the most amazing thing. That's right. And I appreciated it as an adult, and then remembering as a kid. And wow, like just. And any kind of sports All-Star game and All-Star game weekend.
Well, because they're happy. They're not, and there's no there's literally no pressure in an All-Star game. So I think the first couple of days was just like fun events and meet some celebrities. But then at the game itself, well, there's the Ken Griffey Jr. story, right? I got 2 Ken Griffey Jr. autographs. But all the players are in a good mood. They're like chilling out. They're with their buddies. They're with their all-stars. So that's a great tip of, you know, hanging out with them in places where they're just like loose and whatever. And also like don't disturb them in the middle of their meals and stuff, because that's kind of
they don't
which you can't blame them for.
But if you have a cool piece of memorabilia also, like for example, you got a cool 8x10 picture, it's not a bad idea to bring doubles with you, because what will happen from there is if the player wants it or you offer it to them,
I've never done that.
I've had a couple, like, so I remember Curtis Joseph, the hockey player, I had an 8x10 that he never had before, and he goes, can I have your 8x10? I said, absolutely. Can I get a stick sometime? He goes, well, that's not a very fair trade, you know, a stick for a photo. I go, but wouldn't you want a fan to have a stick of yours? He goes, in theory, yes. And then he still signed. He says, here, I'll just sign your picture. He didn't want it.
Wow.
That's okay. I still got the autograph.
Yeah, I know, but like, what a negotiation with a kid.
But I missed the Ken Griffey Jr. signing. I was working that day when you got to go meet Griffey at the All-Star game. But I went down to the Hilton Hotel after the game, and the first team in was the Texas Rangers. and you couldn't go. So I went. I stood up in the lineup. I got Nolan Ryan's autograph.
I don't think I've ever met Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan was awesome. Nolan Ryan lined them up like cattle, and everybody gets one autograph. He has his rules.
Yeah, listen.
If you butt in line, if you come back for a second autograph, I stop the line, everybody loses.
Oh my God.
So he was very specific in an orderly fashion.
Great.
But he was a cool guy. He always signed. So as I'm waiting, I just show up there and I'm looking in the corner. So you're not allowed to go inside the hotel. I see Rafael Palmeiro, the one of the greatest sluggers of all time. A little bit of controversy, but that's all good.
Yeah.
And what is he doing? He's going to go get a haircut at the Hilton Hotel. So I'm waiting at the exit right outside where the Starbucks, it was a different coffee shop at the time, and he's getting his haircut. And as I see him finish the haircut, I bolt in, and I had your baseball. You had an all-star baseball you gave me, and you said, if you can get it signed by somebody, do it. So I said, okay, Palmeiro's a good one for an autograph. So I come up to him, and he looks at the ball, and he goes, this is an all-star ball. I go, yes, it is. I promised somebody an all-star ball and they didn't get it to me. Is there any way I could have it? I said, absolutely, you can have the ball. Can I have a bat, please? And he says to me, well, the same thing as Joseph said. I don't think a bat for a ball is a good deal.
It. More lawyer negotiations. I love it.
I said, but wouldn't you want a fan to have a bat of yours? He goes, you know what? Can you make it to... So this was a Friday game. He goes, can you make it over to the game tonight? I said, I absolutely can make it to the game. No problem.
Wait a minute. You didn't say, is there any way you can get me some tickets to the game?
No, I already have the tickets.
Okay.
So he says, meet me at the dugout at batting practice. I'll see what I can do. So I give him the ball. I don't have any deal with him, really.
This is huge.
This is big. This is bigger
and
than...
especially,
yes.
like, I can't emphasize for a 12-year-old kid to give up... I think they were $10 to $15. MLB balls were 10, and
the All-Star game was 15 or
20, maybe
yes.
even. To give up that to Palmeiro is like huge.
And it wasn't even my ball; it was yours.
Wow. I would have come after it.
So I come down to the game, and I come to BP, and he's hanging out with, and he looks at me, he waves me over, and he says, "Listen, kid, I don't have any cracked bats yet." I go, "I'll take an uncracked bat. That's fine." He goes, "I'm still on the road. I can't do that. We're leaving on Sunday. Can you make it to the Sunday game?" I said, I can't, and I don't have tickets. Okay, go write your name and everything. I'll have tickets waiting for you at the front desk.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, I don't remember this.
So now here's the true story of it.
Hang on, is this All-Star Game weekend?
No,
this is the Rangers.
All-Star Game's finished.
Okay,
All-Star Game is long done.
Yeah.
Rangers are the next team in town.
Okay.
So Friday game is the next game after, and he can't give me the bat. So I get the tickets for the Sunday game. The tickets were actually up in the nosebleeds. It was row 1, but I had a fear of heights, and I didn't love it. Plus, how am I going to get the bat?
Yeah.
So I snuck down, and I sat in the seats right by the clubhouse.
Yeah.
5th inning, Palmeiro flies out, does the walk, looks over, he goes, 1 second. He goes down to the clubhouse.
That's great.
Hands me the bat.
Were people like
freaking out, like absolutely losing their minds. Everybody's losing. And I brought the bat tube already. I had a bat tube ready to go.
Brought a bat tube.
I slide that bat boy right in the bat tube. And then after the game,
Autograph.
down to 000. Yeah. Haven't been to 000 in a while. And when I'm down there, I'm waiting. They said, "Sir, you cannot be down here." I said, "I'm with Mr. Palmeiro, actually. He asked me to wait for him, and this is his bat."
And that's a pretty compelling argument.
That's a great argument.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
He came out, signed it beautifully.
Did he sign the top, like above the, like horizontally or vertically?
Right near his name there, he signed it in the Sharpie.
Okay. Silver Sharpie?
Silver Sharpie.
Okay.
But me being ADD as I am, as far as like attention to detail and, it got cut off, the autograph.
Yeah.
And I stared at that thing for like 2 years.
Okay, I remember
It bugged me to the point.
Yeah.
I took the rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
I took the risk. I took out the autograph.
Yeah.
It left no residue. I was so lucky. Went back to meet him when he was in Baltimore. Told him that the autograph smudged. Can he re-sign it? And he did.
Wow.
Palmeiro was a great guy.
Can I ask you, did you tell me this Palmeiro bat story at the time?
I told you some variation of it so that you would not take the bat because really it was your ball.
No, it wasn't really my bat. Like, you gave me what I gave you. So
Yes.
it wasn't...
You got back a ball or equivalent money with no autograph, and I walked away.
And you just said, like, oh, I just connect. He was a nice guy, and he gave
Yes.
me a bat. But it
Yes.
wasn't like...
I figured since it was your ball, you'd demand the bat, and I didn't want to give up the bat. The
we,
bat
we
is
might have argued about that. I don't know.
The bat is still hanging up in my collection as I speak.
So let me ask you something. Yeah. Is he ineligible for the Hall? Like, has his time passed?
He's done. Yeah, he's done.
Like, he's not eligible anymore?
I don't believe so. I think that he'd have to go through the Veterans Committee. But the way things are set up now, with things like Barry Bonds is not getting in.
Yeah.
He's not getting in.
Listen, nothing is forever. Maybe in 10 or 20 years, they'll do the PED section. And I don't know. Like, who the hell knows?
I got 3 bats
change.
hanging up on my collection. I got his, I got Dante Bichette, and I got the Pudge Rodriguez. And people look at that collection, are saying, your collection's a little tainted there. And I'm like, well, listen.
It means something to you.
Can't confirm or deny. But even like the Dante Bichette bat, I connected with his wife on MLB Reports.
Right.
And I had interviewed her. And afterwards, she asked me to send her some information or something. I think one of her sons was in a magazine. And I put together and I got some magazines sent over to her. Never asked for anything back. She asked me for my address. I'm like, why? She goes, just trust me. So I said, okay. She shipped me a Dante Bichette autographed bat.
Incredible.
It's freaking amazing. And just through connection. So one of the things that people don't always think of is you want the people when they're hot, when they're on TV, when they're in movies, when they're on the field. And guess what? Everybody's asking for them at that point. But guess what happens? When the music's over, when the camera turns off, when the last pitch is thrown, that attention isn't usually there anymore.
Yeah.
And they're usually much more engaging once the career is done or it's in the twilight. So something to think about. If you do have a favorite athlete or celebrity, you're more likely going to be able to reach them out. Even when you message them on Instagram and saying, hey, I'm a really big fan, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They may even tell you where to send over the request.
Yeah.
They may tell you where to purchase it. You can probably do a FaceTime call. Like they do arrange for these things. It's amazing now with the technology, how you're able to connect with people way more than ever.
Yeah, but I think the other part of the, story or lesson here is when you gave her all the stuff, you weren't expecting anything out of it. You were doing it out of sincerity, authenticity, all of those things. And that's how a lot of things in life work, right? You were building goodwill into karma and all these wonderful things. And the karma came back to you. So
that's a really good point, actually. Something I didn't think about. But if you have, for example, a favorite celebrity, if you're commenting on their stuff and you're showing positive energy, or you're putting stuff off and you're tagging them, I've heard where you get retweeted or reposted and they'll know you. And when you connect that way, they're like, oh, that's a fan of mine. You never know from there where it could lead, certainly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, in all walks of life with it. Other people that you've met that stick out to you as far as over the course of your history of autograph collecting?
Autograph collecting. Well, when I think of basketball, definitely Malone. Oh, Manute Bol. Was he on the Jazz or was he on the other team?
76ers.
76ers.
Yes,
I remember meeting Manute Bol and Mark Eaton. And, I'm 6 feet or, at the time, maybe I was 5'5" or who knows, whatever. But I was staring at their waist. The height of these basketball players is just off the chart. So that was something that stuck with me. Actually, what I wanted to talk about, it's a bit of a funny memory, but I remember, so we used to go for autographs, John and one or two other friends, and then we would get, let's say someone like Jimmy Key or, Dwayne Ward or whoever it was, and then there would be 5 Jimmy Keys, and we had 1 or 2 stores that would buy our autographs. So I actually think you have a good story, but it was more of a theme, but you have a good story how we used to race to the store because at the end of the day, they're not going to buy 4 Jimmy Key baseballs. So there was literally a race. And as far as I remember, there was one time where someone got a ride and you had to take the bus. So what was that story and who was the player? I remember some things.
So we got the autographs by Sunday.
Yeah.
And the store probably doesn't open until noon.
Monday. Yeah.
So you were racing after school to go be the first one to bring the autograph.
And this is Sports Connection on Bathurst and Eglinton,
in
right?
Toronto, Canada, which is now going to be a condo building.
Of course,
but that was one of the
condos.
mecca places to sell autographs, and we had somebody there, absolutely. So what I knew I was set because my brother's going to be picking me up from school. My biggest competition, the guy who sold you the place, he was going to take the bus, so I had it made in the shade. So I'm just ready, 4 o'clock's about to go, and the teacher comes and says, can you put up the chairs today in the classroom? I said, I'd really be happy to any other day, but today I have to go.
Teachers know.
And he's laughing. He knows, right?
What? He doesn't know about the autographs.
No. But the guy going to sell.
Oh, yeah.
He knew that was going to screw me, and he's laughing.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I really I can put him up for a week next week. Just don't make me do it today. And he goes, no, you're doing it today. I took my bag. I said, oh, and I threw the bag against the window. I was like, oh. And he goes, okay, plus detention for you now. And you're going to go see the vice principal. So he's just laughing all the way to the...
So he made it first?
He made it first.
Do you know who the autograph was? Do you remember?
Oh, at the time, it would have been like John Olerud.
He was a nice guy.
Pat Borders.
Olerud and Borders used to sign
always.
Yeah,
and they had nice autographs. Kelly Gruber. Like, they would just stop. Like, the Jays had a bunch of guys out there that they would stop for you. And
Gruber was really nice.
They had really bad memories because, or they just didn't care. But like each of us got like 20 autographs from them each, easily. Anyway, so I ended up getting detention for that one, and I made it to the store. And
did they buy it or no?
Nope.
Yeah. So listen, it's what's the expression? Like second place, right? It's early bird gets the worm.
Yeah, but then the players got smart because they're saying, okay, we got a feeling. Like I talked about this with Steve Carsey the other day when we were taping, and he goes, we knew the people that are asking for autographs. We see the same guys over and over and over. So to get smart, some of them, what they would do is they'd ask you for your name. They want to personalize it.
Oh, yes, that's a big one.
So they'd say, oh, son, what's your name? I'm like, your number one fan. You did that one too, right?
Yeah.
Was that when you met Dan Marino?
Yeah, actually, that's a good memory. So we didn't have NFL. We still don't have NFL in Toronto, but
kind of, sort of, but not really.
My dad lives in Florida, and I was there for preseason. Which, by the way, preseason in sports is a huge opportunity to get autographs. They're just in a different mindset. They're more accessible, especially in Grapefruit League and baseball. There's like a couple thousand people. Like, it's just a totally different environment. It's not like, the game's on the line, anything like that. So anyway, we went to, I think, I'm going to Google it off afterwards, but I think it was called Thomas College, which is where the Dolphins practiced preseason. And I bought 2 NFL balls. An NFL ball at the time, I think, was about 70 to 100 US. I don't even know how much.
Which is big money back then.
Which is big money. But like Marino, like Dan Marino, that's at the time for our age, it was probably one of the top like 5 to 10 autographs.
That's like Peyton Manning. That's almost Tom Brady-ish. Like Marino was the man.
Well, he was like Tom Brady back then. Like he was. So anyway, I went up to him and he signed 2 autographs, nice silver Sharpie. The first, he signed, and he's got a beautiful autograph. But I think the first one, he asked me for my name. And I'm like, can you just write to my number one fan? And he's like, no. And then anyway, I gave him my name, and I didn't want it. That one was for sale. Like, I'll be honest with you. I was like kind of
yeah, but do you remember how you got the second one? Your dad?
Oh yeah, my dad got it. Yeah.
Funny, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, we were together. That's right.
Yeah.
But
so your dad told him, no, sign here.
Yeah.
And he signed a nice autograph.
Yeah.
No different than I couldn't make it to a signing when some store opened up and Roberto Alomar was there.
Oh, Alomar was a very nice guy, by the way.
It was huge, right?
Yeah.
So Alomar, I met him when he first got traded to Toronto, and I saw him at a card signing. So then he's doing another card signing. I sent my brother's in line, and he's like waiting in line for at least an hour. So he shows up. Alomar's about to sign it. He goes, no, you don't sign the garbage like that one. You sign it across here.
Your brother said that.
Big name so I can see it properly. And Alomar's, okay. And
well, Alomar is such a nice guy. He's just going to go with it.
And no one's going to say no to my brother, right?
Wow.
So you got the nice Alomar. So that's another thing. Bring your parents and get them to be forceful with the players. Maybe you'll get a better autograph.
Or bring your little brother or your little sister, and maybe the cuteness factor will help. So.
Well, from that end of it, the other thing I was thinking of when they have team-sponsored events. So, and this could be in any capacity, as far as in organizations, when they're having award ceremonies, when they're having dinners, things like that. Like, used to be like Player of the Month.
Charity events.
Are huge. Yeah. Golf tournaments were massive.
Yes.
I remember that. And even like the Blue Jays at the time, and I don't know if other cities have this or not, but it's a really good idea because it's really hard to set this up logistically. They were having sleepovers on the field. So they actually...
Did they do that in Toronto?
Yeah, we did it for 3 years. I was taking my son Jeremiah.
Okay.
We did it for at least 2 years. So what happens is you go to like a Saturday afternoon game. Then they boot everybody out of the stadium. They clean up. Once they finish cleaning up, you go back with the people who have the tickets. that you already left all your sleeping bags and stuff, and it's in a special corner in the outfield for you afterwards. But before you go on the field, they line you up on the concourse, and they put like 2 or 4 players, and everybody gets an autograph. And then from there, you go out to the field, and you sleep on the field all night in your sleeping bag. You're playing catch. Imagine as an 8-year-old, that is the greatest experience ever.
That's pretty cool.
When Jeremiah meets one of the player calls him over and says, "Hey, son, would you like an autograph?" And Jeremiah's like 8. He's like, "No, not really." And he goes, "Why not?" He goes, "You're not a real player." And he goes, "Why am I not a real player?" He goes, "You're not wearing your uniform." So he goes, "Well, I just pitched in the game, and I showered, and I changed." Jeremiah goes, "When you wear your uniform, then I'll ask you for an autograph."
I love it.
And everybody is dying right now. Like the player's dying.
That's amazing.
Best part was...
Do you know who the player was, just out of curiosity?
It was the closer at the time, which I think it was Billy Koch, if I'm not mistaken, or one of those guys. And Eric Thames was there as well. So Eric Thames is like rolling around, having the most fun with this.
That's awesome. Players love that.
So then he goes to Jeremiah. Jeremiah's walking. He goes, "Son, would you like to take a picture with me?" Fine. Yeah. And he rolls his eyes and he takes his begrudgingly picture.
I love it.
And it was amazing. But like just the whole experience, like especially like they have Fan Fest, they have all sorts of events you can bring, like you said, bring your son, bring your daughter.
Fan Fest had a lot of players. I think I went with my son, Marcus Stroman. They had like 5 or 6 like good Blue Jays at Fan Fest. So,
and this is amazing places to meet the players, meet the people, and have fun. It's in a good environment. You were saying about spring training as well. That's a really good one. I wouldn't be camping outside their homes. I don't think that's a great idea. That's a little bit of a security thing, a lot of security thing. I don't think the 000 part is a good idea, or necessarily being outside their cars anymore. But you can find different ways, connect with them on social media, through cameos. There's all sorts of different avenues these days. You got to be creative. But at the end of the day, I know in my mindset, if you really want somebody's autograph, unless literally it's Brad Pitt, you're going to find it. And if it's still, let's say I want Brad Pitt's autograph. I know I watched enough TMZ. You go to LAX, I know they have problems getting in and out of there, and that's where the camera crews and the paparazzi are always finding them. If I was living in LA, I'm probably living out at LAX, and you could probably get really good autographs out there. I know I've done the airport a few times. Now, can you imagine, by the way, camping outside the airport with security-wise? But I remember back in the day, you had Wayne Gretzky, you had the LA Kings. We were all hanging out outside there. All the celebrities were flying with them, and the airport...
Wait, did you go to the airport ever? I don't think I ever went to the airport. How many times did you go to the airport?
Just the one time.
One time.
And it was a great time, actually. But other times, and now when you know that there was a winning team and they come over, but again, it's going to be a battle to find, the placing of where they're going to key in. There's so many exits. That's where, again, you got to be a little more creative. I remember when the German soccer team for the World Cup, they were practicing in Ontario, up north, middle of nowhere. Over there, they were signing autographs, taking pictures.
Jürgen Klinsmann,
that's right, baby. Yeah. And Mateus.
Yeah,
and they were hanging out with us. I had the whole poster signed except for one guy. He was superstitious. He goes, "It's the World Cup. If I sign on it, it means like I'm going to win it, so I can't sign it for you."
I don't blame him, to be honest.
I agree as well. I'm a very superstitious guy as well.
You should be like, "Good call, by the way. Can you sign here?"
I said to him, "If you sign it on the black part outside of the cup," he goes, No, it doesn't work like that.
Could have been a good compromise.
What about the back of the poster? No, it doesn't work. I tried everything. I really tried to lure the guy at the time, but listen, 13-year-olds can only lure the guy so much. But it's pretty
aggressive, like pretty solid objection handling there.
You know what? Look, at the end of the day, you have to be really it's funny because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The squeaky wheel gets the autograph. Those people that reach out, exactly. And then, but if you're the one that reaches out, they grab your Sharpie or your pen. They're going to be using it potentially for everybody, and you're missing out on all the other autographs. So bring extra Sharpies, bring pens, try them out ahead of time. Certainly. Making sure you got your supplies down.
So it's funny you said that. I don't know if you've seen it. I can't remember if it's Messi or Ronaldo, but have you seen the video of TikTok where someone goes up to one of them and they're like, perfect, like come over. He takes the pen. It's a Sharpie. He tries 3 times. The Sharpie's dead. He gives him back the Sharpie and the pen. He literally had the guy signing the paper and the Sharpie was dead. So like you said, test out your Sharpie. We used to have Sharpies bleeding and it was too cold and we'd like figure out weather logistics and
you had to blow on the Sharpie to make sure that it keep it warm. It was just outrageous.
Listen.
And then they took a Sharpie and autographed the baseball and they said, no, use the pen. They don't sign on the sweet spot. Like, come on, guys. Like, okay. If you're a team right now listening to this, you need to have seminars for your players, autographs 101, make sure they're using the proper utensil on the right material. Don't make people get screwed on their autographs.
So I think it was Kelly Rudy of the Kings. I'm not sure. But he signed an autographed 8x10 of mine with, listen to this, a water-soluble marker. Like literally. So he signed it and I saw what was going on. I turned around this way. I wiped off the entire autograph and I gave him my Sharpie and he re-signed it.
You're lucky you re-signed it.
Well,
but,
it's eagle eyes.
Yes.
Eagle eyes. Why are you signing my thing with a water-soluble marker? Like, what am I going to do with that?
There was one day that Mike Greenwell was signing autographs with the Boston Red Sox. And somebody pushed me. I touched him.
Oh, yeah.
He thought a Sharpie touched his polo shirt.
Yes,
he was mad.
Yes. And these players used to get Sharpied. Like some of them would wear like beige trench coats or, gray or whatever. And just not, I think there were a couple of bad people, but just like you're pushing through the crowd. Can I have your autograph? And like something would, they should be wearing black. Like it's just, you're going to get dinged.
If you think about it though now, looking back on it, all else being equal, would we have not been better off, take the money aspect aside, the fact that we were selling it, because what happened was as a kid, when you don't have a job, we would get 2 autographs, keep one, sell one, and get your money because you need to buy more supplies. Otherwise, when you don't have a job, where are you going to buy this stuff, right? That's baseballs and 8x10s don't grow on trees, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, all else being equal, wouldn't have been better off with the pictures instead of the autographs, in that sense? And you think about it at the end of the day, what does the autograph signify? What does it matter?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple autographs left over. I have After the Applause, -1 signature. So that's a book of very famous hockey players.
Yes.
But I think a picture is more meaningful.
I think about it because even now, when I'm meeting people, I got buffed to autograph me a couple of things and I paid for them. He had a signing. I'm like, this is cool. I just want to have it. But it's just more, I really did it just to watch him autographing it and ask him to put the most ridiculous things on it. I was just having fun with it. But in reality, I meet somebody now, I meet Brad Pitt. I have no use for his autograph. Unless I have 100%. Brad Pitt's checkbook and he can write out a check to me and sign it. I don't really need the guy's autograph anymore. It doesn't mean anything to me, And it's funny when you reach a certain age, but I remember when we were 11, 12, and we were competing at golf tournaments with 50-year-olds. And, here's the 50-year-old asking, a 19-year-old, 21-year-old, 25-year-old player. And I'm like, man, when I'm 50, I don't want to be doing this, But some people, they love it. They love the collection of it. They love meeting the people. But I think it's more about, for me now, today, at least sitting here, I think it's about the experience. I'd much rather have that picture,
100%. 100%.
You bring me Obama, Bush, whoever, Clinton, I don't really need the guy's autograph. I would just love to take a picture with the guy and talk the stories, The stories are the most meaningful. And it's funny, out of all this,
I agree, by the way,
when I reflect back on the autograph days, those were the best years of my life because I got to bond with my best friend and my friends and we got to swap stories and it was all those memory, all the memory building,
Yeah.
Like staying up 2 days.
Those are the formative years. Listen, it helped form you into the chosen lawyer. So,
I think being able to have the guts as a young kid to come up to a celebrity, ask them for an autograph,
dude, you were negotiating with professional athletes when you were 13. You were
winning.
You were winning. Oh, I don't think a ball's worth a bat.
Don't you want a fan to have your bat? No, it's true, man. And even thinking about it as well, the entrepreneurship of it.
Yeah.
At 11, 12 years old.
Oh, for sure. We had inventory. We knew about...
We figured out how to go to the sports stores, negotiate cases of the stuff. Yeah. So we broke up the cases.
We bought in bulk.
We bought cartons of the stuff between 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
We figured that out. Then we figured out how to maximize our revenues.
Did we pay in cash for those, by the way, as well?
I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay, fair enough. I vaguely remember being $120 for a 12, a dozen balls, which was $10 each, no cash.
I'm a tax-paying citizen, Elan. I would never, ever not.
Good to know.
But thank you for raising that. But
you were 11. I don't know if...
No, but in all seriousness, again, it's the business entrepreneurship. Now that we're thinking about it,
100%.
Autographs grew into that. And really, was it any different in the day of starting a business, growing a business, marketing the business, We
had customers, we had suppliers. So was it called, I think it was called Z&Z. Was it called Z&Z?
The 8x10 store, yes.
So it was impossible at the time to get 8x10s of Gretzky and Lemieux and, Olerud and whatever. You couldn't find them anywhere. So John, we would go to
we take the GO train. We take the GO train to Oakville, and
I don't remember taking the GO train.
Yeah.
I think your sister might have driven us once.
Maybe once.
And then I feel like I don't remember taking the GO train. I think it was at Etobicoke, not anyway.
Yes.
But it was impossible to get. And then we would be careful because if you got someone, let's say in their last year, like a Reggie Jackson, and then they retire, all of a sudden you've got a $5 8x10 that you can never use anymore. And that's actually one of the reasons why baseballs were so much better, because of the versatility, where if oh my God, Ryan Sandberg just showed up for no reason, and you could get them to sign it right on the spot.
But there was also licensing issues where some players wouldn't sign it unless it's a licensed item. And some of them had exclusive deals with certain companies.
Gross.
So you have it all set up. Here's Brett Hall, and sorry kid, I can't sign it because I can.
What was? Do you remember that?
He had some deal with a sports card,
deck or with
a sports card.
Yeah.
But but on other times I've met my favorite celebrity or a celebrity, and I had nothing for them to sign. I remember being in a shopping mall and grabbing lunch, and I'm there was a section closed off. I'm why is this closed off? And I didn't realize Nicole Kidman was filming a movie. Looking right beside me, there's Nicole Kidman. I'm hi. She's hello. And I'm she's 8 feet tall and the most beautiful woman. I'm and I'm I could literally.
Do you remember which movie? It
was the one with Joaquin Phoenix when she was the teacher that had the relation with the student. She was filming that in Toronto, and that's the other thing. When you live in a city that you're known for TV shows, movies, in Toronto, down to Toronto, they film all the time. So you may not be able to meet the people, but even just seeing them in action during production is pretty freaking cool. But again, do your research. Reach out to the people, find out, they have...
it's Twitter, Google, you could find out this stuff.
You can find out who their promoter is, their agent, and
manager.
There's so many ways to connect with it. But it's funny, getting that experience, it's partial for life that you want to meet somebody famous. You want to... And, it should strive that you should want to be famous yourself one day, and how you're taking that experience. I know for myself, I went from autographs. I started buying stuff on eBay in bulk. I was collecting G.I. Joe figures and breaking up the cases. And that lessons I learned in business for autographs took me to today. I still use the same principles.
Yeah, it's the same negotiating.
Every day is a negotiation.
I sold Furbies on eBay.
Did you really?
Yes.
I did not.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
They were $39.99 in Canada and $39.99 in the US. And the dollar was $1.60. So I was making 60% profit. And if there was an issue with inventory, I would just return it to Walmart.
Jeremiah was buying at 9 years old fidget spinners by the carton on eBay for $1 a piece, selling them at school for $7 a piece.
That's insane.
That's a great markup.
Yes. But did he get stuck with a bunch of fidgets?
He did not. Okay. And I got called to the school and they said, your son is an entrepreneur. He's selling stuff. I said, good on him.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Hang on and finish the sentence. He's selling stuff and he shouldn't be?
I said, as long as he's making profit. And you know what? They can say no.
Yeah.
But also in schools, you have to be very careful of that, because now with regulations and everything, even back when he was in that grade, today it's much more difficult in schools to do that. So you can do that off property, there's ways around it.
Sure.
You can make a Facebook group page private. I'm sure people find ways of this stuff. There's so many ways. I mean, we were talking about this as we were driving up about Facebook group pages.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how popular those pages are. And if you're some sort of entrepreneur, if you want to, and I'm sure there's ways that people will talk about as far as meeting people, getting autographs. You can connect with other fans through forums, Reddit. It never ends.
Fan clubs even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And a lot of people do have fan clubs. Or if your favorite celebrity doesn't have one, start your own fan club.
Absolutely.
Guess what? You don't think they'd be thrilled? Hey, I'd like to bring people together and all that. Just showing that, at the very least, you'll be getting an autograph out of that for sure.
Yeah. No, that's a cool idea.
Looking back on it now, in our final thoughts on autographs, we did a whole episode. It's a whole episode about nothing.
I mean, I still have a couple stories. Guess who my best autograph is right now? I think I've told this to you.
No, go for it.
Who's my best autograph? It's not even mine. It's my son's. Do you remember?
No, go for it.
So we have a signed Kobe card.
Yes.
So I just my son loves basketball cards, baseball cards, and we're just going through and all of his stuff, and it's signed Kobe card. So it's pretty special, and he's a big Kobe fan, so it's very special.
And the other one?
Best autographs?
Yeah, you're saying as far as...
The best stories you mean?
Yeah, you're saying you had two in the pipeline.
Oh, okay. Well, the other one is I guess it is related to autographs, but it's a bit of a sad story. So we started talking about this a lot, but autographs is about the hunt and like being relentless and being at the right place at the right time and be there 10 minutes early and stay there 10 minutes late and miss the babysitting job and like all of these things. So there was one time, and I have no idea which team it was, we went for autographs, and then we're like, can we go to the game? And again, at the time you could buy $4 seats to the Sky Dome and then like sneak down. So like going to the game was like $4. So we would go to the game, and anyway, we're like, let's go to the game and let's go for autographs before and let's go to autographs after, and let's go to the hotel after the game. So like game starts at 7:35, ends at usually 10:35, hotel 11, 11:30, 12, and then subway downtown. So long story short, we did all that. I got home at like 1:30. And again, I'm like 13 years old. Like maybe grade 8, maybe grade 9, but somewhere around there. And I came home and my mom was crying because I did not call her at all. And I didn't have, no cell phones, whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to the game. She'll figure it out. I'm going to the game. But it was like the game and then wait and then hotel and all this and that. And she was I've never seen her like that ever before in my life. And she just said, I'm going to bed and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So that was a sad autograph story, but
see, I didn't know that part of it because I have almost the identical story.
Okay.
When we stayed up, we went to a friend's house and we stayed up all night. And so I was up for 2 days straight pretty much. And I'm like 12 years old, and I go to the game and I miss out on the George Brett home run, and I go down to the hotel and I miss George Brett. My brother went with me to that game, and he said, maybe you come home with me, because I fell asleep during the game. I'm like, I gotta get autographs. Autographs. We're like addicts. We're like addicts. We need our autographs.
But that's the hustle, right?
So I said to him, I'll be home. Don't worry. Yeah. So I go down and like I'm trying to get the autograph, waiting for George Brett, and I'm like, I better get home. My mom's gonna kill me, So our subway system is in a U shape. Yeah. So I'm at the bottom of the U.
I remember this story.
And I'm supposed to go up this way, and it's about, let's say, 11:30 at night. Okay, so I'm starting to head up this way. Next thing I know, I wake up, it's 1 a.m, and I'm over there, which means I went
went all the way up the other side.
I did at least 2 U's, full U's. And there's no cell phones, there's no text messaging, there's nothing. So I get upstairs.
You went Finch Station?
Finch Station, okay. So I'm at the one end. I call up my mother on a payphone. She's crying, yelling at me. So I said, I'll meet you at the bus stop. I go into the bus. I fell asleep on the bus. I missed my stop.
Oh my God.
And so I had to run back. So
where did you go to, like Islington?
I missed like 2 or 3 stops.
Okay, not terrible.
And so I had to run it down.
Oh man.
I was grounded for the summer. I was only allowed to go to baseball games, and I was not allowed to go for autographs. But 3 times that summer, I called her. There were power failures down at the subway station. So how am I going to get home? Yeah. So I said, as soon as the power is back on, I promise I'll come. And she bought it.
Okay, we had similar stories, but pre-cell phone.
Yeah, but I got grounded. You just got barely talked to.
It wasn't a fun night, so.
You know what, though? It's all a part of growing up, and we all do our things. You know what? If the worst thing in the world is we go for autographs and come home a little late versus what some kids will do, it wasn't that bad. Yeah. But at the same token, we had a lot of fun with it. So,
definitely.
And you know what? Our kids are going to do the same to us.
Yeah, hopefully not, but we'll see.
At the end of the day now, look, we did it. We experienced it. And hopefully hearing our stories, this will inspire others, that they will go and get their autographs. They get to meet, their heroes, their celebrities, and have fun with it. But again, doing it in isolation is not as fun as when you have your friends. And I tell you, when I was at those places, I met new people, I made new friends, and it's amazing how it's a small community, We're all seeking the same thing.
Well, again, I used to sell to one guy 35 years ago, and I met him at a card show. I took my son to a card show. He was at the card show, and awesome. I remembered him. Like, that's insane.
So I'm going to sum up today with one last story, because I know you told me I have to tell it, so I'm going to tell it. So you're talking about Ken Griffey Jr. with the Ken Griffey Jr. signed baseballs. Somebody was lucky enough to get a Ken Griffey Jr. bat. So he went to the game after the All-Star game, and the Mariners were in town. And he said, Mr. Griffey, Griffey slid the bat down, perfect condition, game used on the ramp there, and he got it off the dugout.
Were you there when he got it?
I was not, but everybody else was. I was working that day, and I heard the stories, and he got Griffey to autograph it. I negotiated with this person, and we went to school together for 6 months, and he relented finally, and I bought the Griffey bat, and I had the Griffey bat. And I was never going to let go of that Griffey bat.
You love that Griffey
bat.
I
love that Griffey bat.
Good negotiating.
Well, so he calls me up one day, and we were friends, me and this person.
I remember,
And he says to me, I really need my Griffey bat back. I said, you're not getting it. He goes, no, I really need it. And, like my parents are telling me that, like, I need to get it back. My dad's mad at me. And I go, well, that's between you and your dad, but I'm not giving the Griffey bat back. It's not happening. We made it. I gave you a really good value for it. Forget it. He goes, I'm going to give you double what you paid for it because I need it back. And I'm a fair guy. I said, I don't care about the money. I don't need the money. I'm not giving you back the Griffey bat. He goes, all right, then you leave me no choice. If you don't sell me that Griffey bat for the double, every day you come to school, I'm going to arrange for 3 people to come and beat the living heck out of you. And you're going to get bullied every single day. And you know who they are until you sell me back that Griffey bat. I said, your point is well taken. I will reluctantly take your offer of the double the money. I don't believe you for the reasons of why you want it back. And our friendship is done. And sure enough, as I found out from one of my local connects, he called me up all exciting. He just got a Griffey bat in. I said, really? What did you pay for that? And he paid in equivalent trade double what I received. So all's fair in love and bats.
Wow.
So the Griffey bat ended up going to a collector store, which presumably he ended up flipping it as well. My friendship was done, and I don't have the Griffey bat.
How much do you think that bat is worth today?
I've looked it up. In that condition, everything else, that market tumbled heavily, by the way.
Really?
You would think it'd be a big value.
Yeah.
I would say comfortably you can probably pick it up for about maybe between $2,000 to $5,000. The thing is, it's not a significant bat as far as from a particular game. That makes a really big difference.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was going to throw out is that I did buy stuff from memorabilia stores, but you got to be really careful as far as certificate of authenticity, everything else. The right stores have the signings in store. And if you can go to that store or do virtual signing, great. But the more you go down the chain as far as being able to be separated,
the touch it,
you don't know what, where, how. But there are companies out there and they have numbers and holograms and stuff like that. Just be careful with it. But, I've been there where I've been one of those people that picked up that piece of memorabilia. And the other thing is that teams in sports, they have auctions all the time,
right?
And they have team stores.
They have
websites. They have websites for their sites as far as what they're selling through auctions or just from the team store itself. If you go inside the arena or the stadium, so there are ways to finagle this stuff, but you're buying it directly from the team. Some teams, like the Detroit Tigers, for example, are very reasonable in their prices. Some teams are not. So you just have to make sure, But at the end of the day, if you want to pay the premium and you want to get directly from the team, it's there for you.
So if it's worth, let's say, $2,000 to $3,000 today, I feel like at the time it was like $400.
So at the time when I would have bought it, let's say, I think I would have paid about $300 for it at the time.
So that's like not even a good investment.
But if you think and with inflation, it wasn't that fabulous. Yeah. But it was the personal thing that I knew Griffey slid down that bat.
I get it.
And I knew where it came from.
Yeah, I get it.
Even like, for example, like you like watches, I love watches, With watches, it's as much about the story of where the watch came from and who owned it and everything else as the watch itself.
Yeah.
When the watch has no box, no papers, no history, it's not so interesting to me. When I know the person who bought it and owned it, it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff with that. So collecting with autographs transfers to everything. Yeah. It's amazing how that works out. Elan, thank you very much for coming today to swap stories with me and helping people learn about autographs and meeting celebrities. Wanting to find you, where did they locate you, my friend?
Well, easiest way is on LinkedIn or Facebook, Elan Weintraub, or Elan at mortgageoutlet.ca.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how's the real estate market been going for you? How are you finding mortgages currently?
Things are good. It's a very hectic time right now. I think the real estate market is changing. There's a lot of new inventory. Interest rates are rising. So it's kind of funny. we could talk about this for hours, but 2 months ago, a lot of buyers were saying, oh, I don't want 40 offers. It's too many offers. And now there's like 3 offers and they're like, oh, I don't want it anymore. Like it's going to get colder. So it's like, wait a minute, you were complaining about 40 offers. Now there's 3 offers. Toronto real estate has been a very strong investment if you're looking in the long run. And I think that hopefully buyers aren't getting too greedy and they're, they're getting what they wanted and they're going to wait, and the market might slow down a bit. And then 2 months later, it might go back and keep roaring. So
isn't it funny though? Yeah. The real estate market, the car market, stock market, the collectible market, every one of these have their volatilities. Everybody's got an idea. Everybody thinks they know where it's headed. But at the end of the day, it's all gambling in that sense that we can't predict the future. It's just some are more safer than others. I'd always put money in real estate over NFTs, for example, but that's just me. But that's a whole different topic for another day. Elan, been a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Thanks, that was fun.
It was a pleasure. We hope to have you back soon.
Sounds good.
And we do our sign-off, so we raise our arm like this. Until next time. Keep living the chosen life.
There you go.
Cheers. Wait a minute. Are we still running? Well, I know you already hit the subscribe button, the like button to say how much you love this episode, and the notification bell so you get notified of all our future episodes. But you still feel like you want more. Well, when you're ready to contact the chosen lawyers at Kormans LLP, we are here to help you. Whether you're looking to close a real estate transaction, a refinance, a corporate commercial matter like a lease, a shareholder agreement, an incorporation, you need a will or power of attorney prepared, a family law matter comes up, contact the chosen lawyers. We are here for you. So how do you get in touch with us? It's really simple. You go onto our website, go to kormans.ca, that's KORMANS.ca, fill out the contact form, and a chosen lawyer will get in touch with you. So it's very easy. We look forward to seeing you very soon. And thank you very much for watching The Chosen Life. We'll see you back very shortly.